الرئيس السادات قصة طويلة، بعض فصولها قبل الثورة وبعض فصولها بعد الثورة، من اتهامه بالاغتيال إلى اتهام آخرين باغتياله. هو في نظر أنصاره بطل السلام، وهو في نظر الجميع بطل الحرب. السادات من الحرب إلى السلام. مكتبة الإسكندرية أهدت الطبعه الأولى لقاء الرئيس السادات مع محطة ABC الامريكيه. الطبعه الأولى في قناة دريم تذيعه كاملا ومترجما لأول مرة على شاشة عربية. فإلى اللقاء.
Now for the next hour, Sadat Action Biography.
We are the oldest nation, the oldest written history, 7,000 years, the oldest government. Believe, yes, we are very proud.
As you're driving through the streets of Cairo or any other Egyptian town and the people are standing on the side of the street and cheering you, how do you know they really mean it?
It is something that you can feel by heart. By heart. I'm a man of the street, and they can feel it.
He's got a sense of timing. He understands his public. He knows how to deal with other politicians extremely well. At the same time, though, I think we must admit he is a statesman, because he is the first Arab leader who has been able really to lead the Arab world in modern times.
I must say he's one of the surprises of Middle Eastern history. He developed a sharpness of personality and independence of vision, which contrasted with the previous image of a ceremonial figurehead. And now I think most Israelis would agree with me in thinking that he is a more formidable and serious person than Nasser.
Sadat is a dedicated Egyptian nationalist. That of course he has the Arab cause at his heart. But I would not use the word fanatic in any sense with respect to Sadat.
Well, as a wife, of course I prefer if he wasn't a president. Because at least he will be with us more, and he will be as a father and as a husband with us more.
Mr. President, what would you like people to write about you after you've gone?
I should like them to write on my tomb. He has lived for peace, and he has died for principles.
For the past 1,000 years, nobody in the West has bothered very much about getting along with the Arabs. They haven't amounted to very much. In the past 12 months, however, it's become a very big matter, not far on our agenda below getting along with Russia or getting along with China. There are about 100 million Arabs in about 20 Arab countries. Though they're not united and none is dominant, the most prestigious is Egypt, because it is the most populous. It's a piece of luck for us that the president of Egypt now is Anwar el-Sadat. He has expelled the Russians from Egypt. He's shown himself amenable to negotiation, as Nasser was not. He's opened his country up to Western investment, and he's displayed an admiration for the steward of our foreign policy, Henry Kissinger. For the past 4 months, ABC's chief Middle East correspondent, Peter Jennings, has been filming Sadat's every public move and a lot of private ones. For the next hour, we present Jennings' portrait of the #1 Arab.
Anwar Sadat has been president of Egypt since the sudden death of Gamal Abdel Nasser in 1970. Since his presidency began, Egypt and Israel have fought their 4th war, and there is pessimistic expectation about a 5th. Sadat's present popularity dates back to his decision to go to war in October 1973. He is carried along on the adulation of the crowd as only the 2nd meaningful Egyptian president in his nation's long history. He is a man of many parts. Above everything, Anwar el-Sadat is first an Egyptian. He has been a passionate nationalist since his early childhood. The First World War was ending in the year of Sadat's birth. The British had helped Egypt throw off Ottoman rule, but remained on as semi-rulers themselves. The land of the pharaohs continued to be dominated by foreigners. burial sites of the ancient kings became training grounds for British cavalry. Sadat's grandmother told him the story of Din Shuai, a village not far from his own. In 1906, British soldiers were shooting pigeons there. The villagers objected, for the birds were daily food. In the confrontation, a British soldier died. Many peasants were punished. Sadat has a private collection of these photographs. Shots of a hurried trial, more of floggings. Villagers were hanged. Anwar Sadat has never forgotten what it could mean to raise a hand against the British.
Since my early days, I felt, what does the occupation mean, the foreign occupation? What does colonialism mean? What is the real relations between us and the British in our country?
Sadat was barely a teenager when he moved with his family to Cairo. The king on the throne was not Egyptian, he was Albanian. His ancestors had ruled Egypt earlier in history. The king, Fuad, had his young son Farouk at school in England. The British supported Fuad's throne. When the king died, Farouk returned to take his father's place. Egyptians don't always love their leaders, but they usually respect and sometimes fear the office.
I remember at that day, I stood in the street. I stood from 9 o'clock in the morning up till 2 in the afternoon, waiting for him, waiting to have a glimpse of our new king. And he was very popular at that time.
In Sadat's eyes, he did not remain popular for long. The British government continued to influence Farouk as they had his father. There was little future for boys like Sadat.
The country was not ours. We have only what I call the 0.5% community. It means that 0.5% has got everything, and 99.5% has got nothing at all.
Sadat, at high school in Cairo, demonstrated against the British. He was expelled twice before graduating. Ironically, at least one contact with the British was beneficial. In 1936, the military academy, looking today much like it did then, opened its doors to Egyptian boys from the lower class. Sadat, whose father worked for a British army doctor, made application.
My father was his chief clerk. So my father sought his recommendation, and in my file, you shall see that I was recommended to the military college by a senior British officer.
That must have been one of the only times a British officer recommended you for anything, wasn't it?
Quite right. They must be sorry for it.
Sadat was admitted, and so was another fervent Egyptian nationalist, Gamal Abdel Nasser. It was to be a giant step forward, the beginning of an Egyptian-trained military not dependent solely on birth or royal favor for its leadership. It was here that Sadat and Nasser became friends and decided they had much in common. They both saw the army as the way to overthrow the king and expel the British. Sadat and Nasser had no sooner graduated from military academy than the Second World War broke out. The British were fighting the Germans and Italians in North Africa. Sadat saw the war as an opportunity to hasten British defeat and their departure from Egypt. He decided to collaborate with the Germans.
We had a saying here that says, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. This is quite simple like that. We were faced by a very grave situation. Rommel has reached Alamein, and he was about to capture Alexandria and then Cairo. So we tried to contact the Germans and tell them